A mother working the overnight shift at a 7-Eleven was forced to defend herself after an angry customer attacked her. She's not facing any charges, but the convenience store fired her for violating their no weapons policy. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Right off the top, today's video is brought to you by Blackout Coffee Company and their upcoming Black Friday sale. They are a great pro-Second Amendment coffee roaster that both supports this channel and organizations like FPC, GOA, the Second Amendment Foundation, and now Turning Point USA through their Charlie Kirk roast, and their partner roast donate to those organizations directly. They are set for a huge site-wide sale for Black Friday, so to get some coffee, tea, or hot chocolate that you can be proud of, help some of your favorite organizations and this channel, go to blackoutcoffee.com/LibertyDoll. 25-year-old Stephanie Dilliard, a mother of one toddler and two older stepchildren, was working the same overnight shift at 7-Eleven in Oklahoma City that she'd been working for over 2 years. She was working alone when, just after midnight, a man came in and tried to pay for a bunch of snacks with a counterfeit $100 bill. When Dilliard pointed out that the bill was a fake, 59-year-old Kenneth Thompson began threatening her. He told her he was going to slice her head off and started throwing things at her. Dilliard dialed 911 and tried to run away, but before the police could arrive, as per usual, the man rushed behind the counter and started choking her. Seeing no other option, Dilliard pulled her gun and shot Thompson once in the stomach.
He threatened me, said that he was going to slice my head off, and then that's when I tried to call the police. Realized he started throwing things at me. Came behind the counter. I tried to run off, but he grabbed his hands around my neck and pushed me out of the counter space. That's when I pulled out my gun and I shot him.
He took off, made it a few blocks, and called 911 himself. He was taken into custody at the hospital and charged with assault and battery, threatening acts of violence, attempting to pass counterfeit currency, and violating parole on an outstanding felony warrant. Dilliard is not facing any charges as she is protected under the state's self-defense laws. But only a couple days later, corporate called her and fired her. Apparently, in this situation, she was expected to wait for police while she was strangled to death by a man who had just threatened to kill her. She says that HR told her they were terminating her employment because of a violation of policy. Dilliard says that the 7-Eleven has no security, and company policy did not allow any self-defense weapons, not even mace. Now, I have never worked for 7-Eleven, but this is something that I have heard before from other convenience store workers, so not surprised, and not for nothing, I've always wondered why these places would ever put a young woman by herself on the overnight shift. It happens a lot more often than you would think, and these places are often already targets. But now you're going to put a young woman by herself behind the counter and expect bad things not to happen at like 2 a.m. Dilliard says that that was exactly why she decided to carry, even against company policy, because she wanted to be able to go home to her kids if a bad situation ever happened. And don't get me wrong, there is an argument here about knowing that she was breaking company policy, but also she was put in a high-risk situation with zero means of protection or security. If a job like that says that you can't carry and can't protect yourself, well, then they should probably be doing something to try and mitigate some of those risks, at least in my opinion. That is often not the case of what actually happens, so in that situation, I would rather carry and risk losing my job over risk losing my life. And in fact, I had many jobs where you weren't supposed to carry, and guess what? I did anyway. And a criminal defense attorney speaking to Fox 25 said something similar. He said that while allowing employees to carry on company property presents liability issues, an employee getting injured or killed at work when the store didn't provide any adequate safety measures in place of allowing self-defense also raises liability issues for potentially putting their employees in unsafe spaces and situations. Maybe 7-Eleven thought that it wouldn't look good on them or something, that someone defended themselves, But I don't think that most people would have looked at this story and said, oh no, 7-Eleven let that woman have a gun. The story wouldn't have gotten nearly this amount of attention, probably wouldn't have even gotten out of the local news without her being fired, and anyone who did hear it probably would have just thought, well, good thing those kids still have a mom. But now the company is in national headlines. Dilliard says that she was put in an unfair position between having to choose her job or her life, and in the midst of the attack, all she cared about was getting home to her kids. 7-Eleven has yet to comment, even amidst pressure to change those anti-gun or anti-self-defense policies. Oklahoma is an at-will employment state, which means companies can fire employees for any reason. It also means that Dilliard would have a tough time with any kind of wrongful termination lawsuit. At least this didn't happen in New York, where she would have been charged and likely sent to prison, as we just saw in a video I did earlier this week. In light of now being jobless, Dilliard did start up a GoFundMe that has raised over $36,000. I will link it down in the description for anyone looking to contribute. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video. I hope that everybody is gearing up to have an excellent holiday and a nice time with their families. In the meantime, you know the drill for all of the Algrown things. Please do them, and as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and happy shooting. Oh, and P.S. thank you again for nominating me for Influencer of the Year for the Gundies. Remember that voting starts December 1st, and there are a lot of awesome creators nominated for different awards, so make sure you check them all out. Bye.